Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 513, recorded live on Sunday, April 8th. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have returning to the show, Evennote. Welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me.
Live from sort of PAX East.
Yeah, I'm in the Boston area for the week. I did have not gone to PAX East because I'm saving my money for Gen Con later this summer, but I did go to the meetup Friday night, which was sadly populated by almost entirely Lotro people except for devs.
That's okay. Uh, or at least we're glad that you could make it there and say hi to the devs and stuff. See,
I was the DDO rep.
yay! Our screenshot for the week, Belmora says spider, what spider? And then 361st screenshot of the week. Nice and creepy. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOCast.com. DDOCast is hosted by CyberEars, the awesome podcast hosting network. Shows are usually available within a few days of recording, and the next show will probably be next Sunday. Sunday is just going to kind of generally be the most likely day that there's going to be a show for a little while. For those of you who are familiar and have picked up on things that I kind of somewhat drop on the show, I umpire Little League Baseball, and the season has started. This week was a rainout, but hopefully the weather in Seattle will be conducive to baseball. So Saturdays get a little full for me, umpiring and dodging missiles from kids and all that kind of fun stuff. But you can stay updated by following us on social media pages. At DDOCast is the best place, or just pick stuff up on DDOCast.com when it comes out. We also have a calendar there, which I try to keep up to date with shows as things kind of move along. On the podcast this week, there's not a whole lot of news, but we do have a little bit. We'll say hi to Evennote, and maybe share. I don't know. Is there anything that you can? We'll hang on to that. We'll talk about the dev meetup hangout thing a little bit more. But there's also some community
Okay.
news and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, let's get started, shall we? With what game
We
news
shall.
there is. There's not a lot. We'll talk about Update 38 a little bit as well, but Game World resets. They have been for a while doing Game World resets every week on Wednesdays. They're going to move that to Tuesdays. The reason why they're doing that is because in general, they found they're updating the game more frequently on Tuesday instead of Wednesday. So they're trying to make the downtime schedule be more consistent. Makes sense. Typically, the downtime will last about an hour. It'll be Tuesdays at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, which is -4 GMT, at least until we fall back in a couple months. But so that just kind of be their more normal schedule. And I'm sure if they have to do it on a different day, they'll move downtime to a different day as well, like they have been. But hopefully that'll be a little more consistent. There's also some news about Crystal Cove, which will most likely return this summer. They still have some work to do on the updated loot. Hey, updated loot for Crystal Cove. That's exciting.
Yay! And kobolds!
Nicely done. The existing minimum level 20 and 24 versions do not accept sentience, but the minimum level 28 versions do. They do not anticipate this changing, which is kind of interesting. Which probably just means that there's some sort of coding thing in the background that makes them not compatible with with sentience for whatever reason that is. The pass on Cove is still in progress, but they're tentatively hoping that the new versions will not need this restriction, and that the new minimum level 20, 24, and 28 versions will be able to accept sentience. Also, they let us know that if you're upgrading Calomel weapons, which would be from House Cannith, they should not have doing that should not have any negative interactions with sentience, which is good. If you find that that's true, please let them know so that they can fix it. That would be unfortunate. Legacy things do not always work well with old things, which is unfortunate. I actually found, this is a complete aside, but I found in my crafting cache, my crafting bank, I have 2 of the really old, early version Ruby augments. The ones that gave you like good and a metal type damage reduction bypass. that only lasted for like 100 game hours in my crafting bank storage, which you can't use with the new augment slots, anyways. So not sure what I'm gonna
I
do
think
with
I
those.
still have a couple of them in one of Evan's bags.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with those. Bill, hey devs, can you make it so that I can put those into my sentient weapons and just like feed them to that that process, just to like have something to do with them? That'd be great. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, I like the idea of feeding them to sentient weapons.
Yeah, there's a few things that I have found that if I could feed to sentient weapons would might be somewhat conducive, even if it was like a really low bang for the buck. Like all of the runes I have from Reaver's Refuge, that could be a nice use for them.
Yes,
just
yes, yes.
just give me like 10 per gem. It's fine. Actually, that might still be too much because I'd probably get somewhere in the neighborhood of like 50,000 for that. But anyways, uh, yeah. So update 38. There's no official announcement. I haven't seen any official announcement. But there's kind of some rumors, word on the street kind of thing. It's probably coming out this coming week. Probably on Tuesday. Probably on the Tuesday downtime time frame. That's when they normally would update the game, which would make that released April 10th. Again, it's not confirmed. They haven't really made an official announcement, but it might be upon us soon, which would be kind of great. Is there
Indeed.
anything particular you're looking forward to for that?
Ah, I honestly, I've been out of town all week, and I haven't really. I have played a very, very little bit of DDO. Basically, I did a little Vistani totem farming on Even, and just logged everybody else in long enough to check mail. Which, granted, with 22 and some Solanas, took an hour and a half. But yeah, I have not really super looked at it yet. So, and also, I kind of like to be surprised. I very rarely get on Lamania. Would rather wait till it goes live and get in and see what there is to see.
Yeah, I don't typically go on Lamania either, mostly from a time perspective. Uh, but there's some fun stuff coming. It'll be interesting to see if, I mean, one, my druid, which is not one of my best characters, should be getting some love there as well. I'm excited to see how bear works. I would love to be able to maybe primarily be a wolf druid, but go into bear mode for tanking. That would be pretty slick. So yeah, we'll see how all
Yep.
that stuff goes. Bonus days for the weekend. DDO bonus days brings you a plus 20% Reaper XP boost now through April 8th. That's always
Which
fun.
is today.
Yeah, just if you're listening to this live, there you go. If you're listening to it published, it's probably not still Sunday the 8th. It usually takes me about 24 hours to really finish polishing off the show, or at least letting things upload so that I can do things with them and manipulate them. But for future reference, do you have any? Evennote, do you have any tips for maximizing Reaper XP boosts on such weekends?
For one thing, don't play a main and 19 alts because it's
Mm-hmm.
really, really hard to get a lot of Reaper XP that way. The best, I mean, you can solo Reaper stuff, but yeah, get a good party. It will go so much faster. And a lot of times you might be able to run, say, Reaper 7, but it will take you forever. Bump down to Reaper 5 or 6, get through it a lot faster. Maybe do 2 runs in the time it takes you to do one. And I'm just used to like throwing those numbers out, uh, if
Yeah,
you can do, say, 2 runs at Reaper 5 in the time it takes you to do 1 run at Reaper 7, you're probably better off doing Reaper 5.
yeah, definitely. Uh, I generally find that about unless I'm in like a normal pug, with 3 skulls is usually going to be kind of the I've got a full party. Let's just kind of cruise through this, not go too crazy range. If I'm going higher than that, I usually want it to be like people I really know. And really, for most quests, if you're going above 5 skulls, I kind of figured you're not really getting great XP per minute at that point. You're just kind of doing the challenge part of it. There are a few quests where that's not necessarily true. Um, Obviously, doing it your first time on Reaper, you get a first time Reaper bonus, and level 30 quests and above, you get double the XP bonus. So even just normally doing like Ravenloft, which is Ravenloft is mostly pretty short. There's a few quests that if you don't know what you're doing, could take you a long time, or if you are, let's say, not very selective about what cards you receive, uh, can take a little longer as well. But some of those short ones and stuff, even on Reaper 1, your first time through, I think you get like 11. You get over 1,000 Reaper XP per quest. So there's a
Yeah. And Reaper 1 is really not that much removed from Elite.
It's really not self healing. If you're using potions and rejuvenation cocoon for self healing, that's where you're gonna really notice it. But other than that, it's not too bad. But you still get like a 40% penalty to self healing, so it's noticeable. The damage and stuff is less of a concern though. But we did the Mines of Tethymar on Reaper 3, and it took us maybe an hour and 15 minutes to do all of them. So,
oh, very nice.
And I think most of us, I think, were on first time bonus, and I think the general range was somewhere, depending on the potion, somewhere between 10 and 14k Reaper XP. So, pretty good. Store news: advance your alts. Here you go, Evennote. Get 25% off of Tomes of Learning. Select low-level adventures, +2 ability tomes and character slots. Now through April 12th. Also, and this was a surprise, you can get 20% off of the Ravenloft Collector and Ultimate Editions in the DDO market for a limited time.
Already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, it's been out for a couple months. But yeah, it is surprising that it's there that soon, I would definitely say.
Yeah,
Perhaps,
especially since I was under the impression that it's sold really well.
yeah.
I know I know a number of people that, looks like I accidentally muted my mic. I know a number of people who, I used to see in DDO that I hadn't seen in ages have come back to it for Ravenloft. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I kind of it reads two things to me. One is, oh, that's kind of concerning. I hope they're not having problems with the population. But I also kind of wonder if, because I know it did sell really well initially, I kind of wonder if they're looking at the numbers and finding that maybe people aren't buying it in large numbers right now because most people have already bought it. So putting it on sale, if you kind of looked at the curve of when people have bought it and the number, you can look at numbers in population, how many people are playing on average, and how many people have purchased it. Maybe they're kind of figuring that. Well, we kind of figured that everyone who would buy it at full price has probably already bought it. So maybe these people, if it was 20% off, would buy the content, and that would be great. It's kind of a guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyways, it's on sale. If you don't own Ravenloft, and this is also the collector and ultimate editions, so you get more stuff, which can get more bang for your buck if you haven't gotten any of the content yet. It is available in the store now, though, as well. So, also back for a limited time, the Traveler's Terrific Trunk through April 12th. There's some fun stuff in there, including Sovereign XP potions and Big B's hands.
Big B's hands! If you do not want your Big B's hands, please contact Evennote on Thelanis. I will buy them from you.
Are they
also,
tradable?
the outfit that comes, yes, they are not bound. The outfit that comes with that, I think, I forget what it's called, this Traveler, anyway, the outfit that comes with that is really nice.
I might need to sell some of the ones that I have sitting in my bank. I usually get them and then
Why are you not on Thelanis?
Because I'm on Kyber. Because when they closed Redra and merged it, they moved me to Kyber. That's why I'm not on Thelanis. Anyways, the weekly coupon, you get a free Lesser Slayer account boost with the coupon code SLAYMORE now through April 12th. So there you go. All right, community news. The 278th Chronicle came out. The Galanda Fellowship Alliance is holding a big event on, I think this was last Friday, to talk Toy Store memories and run 2 Shrouds. R.I.P. Toys R Us, I guess. Also, PAX East is this weekend. Tolero, their San Diego Games brand manager, was speaking at a panel. So that's pretty neat. I kind of wonder if they'll make that available after the fact, but I guess it would be more PAX than San
Ooh,
Diego
I hope
Games.
so.
Yeah, it would be kind of neat to see what's going on there, but we'll have to find out. See, the guild for the week, Transcended, are an Argonesson-based guild, family-friendly guild that supports all playstyles and skill levels. They have their own web page, Facebook page, and the largest airship in the game. I think that's. It's funny. I read that right. It's like we've got a bigger airship than everyone else. No, I think it's just the largest one you can get. Right?
In other words, they have a Kraken.
Yeah. See, the comment for the week. Why is the Renegade Master Maker a renegade? Probably because somewhere it's illegal to modify yourself.
Maybe it's just because he had it made except for a bounty.
I don't know.
But if you're not into 70s, 80s music, you'll have no idea what that means.
That would be me. I'm not into 70s and 80s music.
Old stick song, Renegade. Good song.
Fansite news. Here we go. This list is actually, it seems a little shorter than it has been, but the fansite stuff has been off the charts lately. See, we got a shout out for our show last week, which was part 3 of our Endgame series. The Damsels of DDO were in Korthos for episode 87. The DDO players' news got trolled. Sip paid his first visit to Barovia. Shoemaker helps with the DDO wiki, the latest DDO wiki talk. City plays his Acid Archer to level 20. Samus followed the noob. Fumbles and Fame runs in the Catacombs. We got a shout out for DDO Splat in Dream Conspiracy. So you can see how that went. It actually went pretty well until we we did Eye of the Titan. Things got crazy. Let's see, Mickey nears 70 weeks of rating. Axel crunched the numbers on VIP. Great little video if you're kind of wondering, do you want to do VIP or not, and what kind of that kind of looks like. Pretty good from a cost perspective. Caterin Den delved into DDO in a new YouTube video. Lord Exus calls DDO one of his favorites, and a very bad guild discusses chess and checkers. And let's see. They did say that update 38 was arriving soon. I forgot the trademark symbol on that.
Yeah, say the trademark and the quotation marks and the little asterisk.
It's just normal soon. So who knows what that means? Cordovan was in Barovia on Solana in the latest weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream. Let's see. There is an event we wanted to mention. I'll mention this next week as well, hopefully, if I remember. The March of the Bears to the Electric Boogaloo. So they did this last year.
I actually have some news related to that. Apparently, they do that to add, and this was, I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to say this because it was announced at the meetup on Friday night. Originally, the March of the Bears was like a protest because they want bear dye. Yes. I don't know when, but bear dye is going to be a thing.
Yes.
It is coming out. So,
yay,
bear dye.
I don't know if it was a protest per se as much as a demonstration of we want bear dye.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Well, protest demonstration.
Yeah. This is from the post here. The devs have announced bear dye is a stretch goal. Well, we applaud the promise. We at the Brotherhood for Extreme Animal Recoloring, BEAR, nicely done, would like to see this expedited, and therefore will march again. The last march was over a year ago, so roll up a druid on Caneth and march in animal form. Wolves are people too, with your fellow druids to show support, or just show up and watch the spectacle. 1, march to support the cause of unique appearances for druids in animal form. 2, march because you love seafoam bears and pink wolves. 3, march because you want tiger stripes or polka dots. 4, march because it was super fun last time. 5, march because Caneth is a silly place. 6, march because we can never have too many bear pun names. 7, march because the giant bear dance party at the end of March. And 8, march to set a new DDO record for most bears in an instance. There were 60 last time. I don't know if that's actually a record. I don't know if there's anyone there to document from Guinness Book of World Records or anything like that. Or what would it be? The Stormreach Book of...
Stormreach Book of World Records, I think.
Yeah, something like that. But 60 is a lot of bears. I don't actually kind of wonder
Indeed.
what the max population for an instance is before they start shoving people into other instances. But
Or shoving bears into other instances.
yeah. Let's see. DDOCast news, DDOCast Splat. We are playing this Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, and after that, we're gonna take about a 3 week. We're gonna take about a 3 week break because of stuff that's going on. Mostly, I'm working and won't be able to play, but also just kind of people are out of town, and it was a good time to take a break. But we'll be back. I have not decided if when we come back it will be season 4 or how. Really figured out how I'm doing the season thing, anyways. But we will be back in a couple weeks, and then we're also going to take at least Memorial Day off, maybe a couple days off around there as well. So just kind of in the summer, we'll be a little bit more sporadic, but we should be playing most Tuesdays, anyways. So there you go. All right, let's do lightning post. We've got a question from an old survey question. Probably should do a new survey soon because it's been a while since I've got some of these questions. But Silifont on Philonis asks, should you be a TR addict or stay at cap? That is the question. And I think my answer to this
Most
is...
questions like this, yeah, my answer is, what do you want to do?
Well, I would say if you are a person who has lots of alts, I would tell you to stay at cap. If you are a person who plays only 1 or 2 characters, then you may wish to be a TR addict to kind of keep improving your characters. If you just stay at cap and you don't have very many characters, I think it's really easy for the game to get a little dull, partly because you run out of goals, which I think is kind of where I've seen the most people tend to leave, because you run out of goals and you get less interested and stuff like that. So I would tell you you should probably have a character that you can be working on, whether that's through TRing or an alt or something like that effect. That would be my recommendation.
I would agree with that. I mean, like I said, I have 20 tunes just on my main account, just on Thalanis. That's not counting other servers and my 3 free-to-play accounts. I don't have a problem. I really don't. Yeah, I mean, Even has been level 30. She's, XP has done her absolutely no good for a very long time. On the other hand, she is the only tune I have that I know. That's odd. Uh, she's the only tune I have that I know I can reliably take into, Ellie Baba or something like that, and at the very least not embarrass myself. So I don't really want to mess with her. But I have 19 other tunes I can mess with, so yeah, I have no one who's on more than a 3rd life yet. I hardly ever TR. If I had fewer tunes, I definitely would, though.
I've managed to get all of my characters to 36-point builds because I have like 15, at least that are, 15 real characters. I have a character that I've been playing for DDOCast Splat off and on occasionally, but now my DDOCast Splat character is one of my main characters because I wanted to get him a past life to turn him into an ASMR. But I am not big on TRing. I don't know, partly because of how my playstyle and my schedule works, I tend to start playing alone. It's really hard for me to consistently stay with a group because if you get just because of the way my schedule works, and particularly at certain times of year, static groups can be really hard for me. So it's hard to do like a static TR group, and if I'm playing by myself, I find it to be a little bit more of a drag, or a lot more of a drag. So that's kind of why I tend not to TR very much. But if you got a group that's TRing, or you don't want to make a new character, I would say some TRing is good. It keeps you doing something, and you can, particularly if you have friends. But if you like making lots of characters, then I would say don't worry too much about reincarnating. Maybe twice a character at most, and you should be fine. It's really not that much of a power creep for most builds, so it is helpful, I will say. But you don't need to have 3 wizard past lives on a barbarian. Just don't.
No, you just need to be able to find traps with your face, so you can do that as a first lifer.
Facial trap finding is a free feat for all characters.
Especially barbarians.
Yeah. All right. We'll close out the show. Anything you want to plug before we head out?
Oh, let's see. I have my stream. I do streaming with Even Sunday nights, most Sunday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/DDO stream. I was off last week. I am off again this week because I am out of town, but I will be back next week. And blog is ddoeven.wordpress.com, which has not been updated in forever. But I actually bought a domain, so yeah, I'm not going to plug RDOs. All that stuff is going to be moving, so
Yay.
yeah, then I can really start plugging it again. Now I have domains, I mean an actual like official purchased domain and server space and all that, and I just need time to mess with it, which I haven't had.
Well, thanks for being on the show today. It's good to have you back.
Thank you for having me. Always a good time.
Thanks to everyone for listening, and thanks to all the contributors for DDOcast and to Standing Stone Games and Wizards of the Coast and to Cyber Years. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOCast.com. You can also, we have a Patreon page as well, which you can support the show that way if you so choose. If you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, I've been doing some website work the last couple weeks trying to update a couple things, including my guest roster and links for them as well. You can email me at ddocast.com or if you know of one that maybe should be featured there. Trying to keep it to primarily DDO stuff, but if you just send me an email if you know of one or have one that you'd like to see featured on our website. You can also hit us up at ddocast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. If you'd like to be a part of the show, maybe you have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, or a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, you can leave a comment, or you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates at DDOcast is the best place to find me. Our closing tip for the week comes from Axel on Solana. He says, Death Ward clickies are important. They can be very helpful. If you're looking for where to get one, you can get one on a tank route sometimes. So stay tuned. Coming up next will be part 4 of our topic on Endgame, Then and Now. Hello, welcome back. We're going to finish our discussion on Endgame Then and Now today. We've talked about where Endgame was, where it is now, some things that made it change. Now we're going to talk about what we want it to look like in the near future. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have coming back Asheras and Warcane. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Thanks.
So, like I said, last time we were talking about things that have changed Endgame. Today we're going to talk about what do we want it to look like going forward? How do we want things to change? So, Asheras, take it away.
All right, well, let's kind of go roundtable on this part here, and we can each kind of throw something out there, maybe pitch something that we think makes sense or that we would like to see. Warcane, you want to give us something that you'd like to see as it relates to where Endgame could go?
More to do. Maybe have some sort of deity you can get at level 30 and you can level that up. That gives you special things. More content, harder raids to do. Ones that might take you 3 tries to complete because it's that difficult. Where you got to go back and make your character a little bit stronger and get the optimal group to do that particular raid. There's a lot of different options I feel that they could do, but I feel like they need more. They need get to 30, play for a week, and then go back in TR. And that's not the answer. It'd be nice when you get done doing all your past lives, you have something to do with that character that took you years and years to get there. So I feel like something definitely should be done.
Okay. Yeah. I agree with you. I think more content at Cap
Who
is
doesn't want more
always
content, right?
yeah, anywhere, but especially at Cap. And if we're talking about content, what I would specifically like to see is content that is more integrated in a storyline where I have really enjoyed the days where, the Shroud happened because of what the Abbot did, and Todd was a follow-on to what happened in Shroud, and that progressive storyline that goes throughout content is, to me, really fun and exciting, and it makes it neat. So, and I felt like the storylines lately have been a little bit more disjointed. There's some tie-ins, but for the most part, it seems like we do a content pack and we're over here, and then we do a content pack and we're over here, and then we're doing a classic module, which I love classic modules, but
It's hard to tie those into the overall storyline, though. I mean, they're kind of loosely tied into the Gatekeeper kind of storyline-ish, which is sort of a storyline, but really more like, it's more like watching The Simpsons, right, where it's a bunch of standalone episodes as opposed to watching something that's more serialized.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. They did that with the Multitude of Menace leading up to Legendary Shroud, and like from Trial Archon up to Multitude of Menace and then Legendary Shroud. They kind of tied all that in together. Yeah, the storylines are always kind of fun to see. I think you kind of think that they might be setting some of that up though with the Minds of Tethumar series, right? Like had what's in it, Gratch or Grizz or something like that.
Yes.
There's a villain that's going to come back later, presumably. Militia still seems to be cropping up in random places.
Yeah, well, with good reason. Yeah, but you're right. I think in one of your Ask the Devs, they actually teased that Grasset would be a recurring villain and one that we have to deal with going forward. And I like that idea that we encounter him and he toys with us, or we baffle him in some way, but it keeps coming back. To me, that's fun. So, but I agree, more fun content. What's something else, Patrick, you'd like to see?
All right, listen up, devs, because I'm gonna fix all your problems. Here we go. All right, so one of the things we talked about was needing something to tie characters to level 30, and raiding just isn't that, right? It's fun, people do it at level 30, but it's not really. You finish it, you kind of go on. So there's kind of two things that I think really need to happen. One is we need to expand the raid runes to existing raids. I mean, usually going forward, clearly, but I mean, can you imagine what would happen if you can get raid runes in, Vault of Night and Demon Queen, that you could maybe, I don't know, turn in for scrolls, seals, and shards? I mean, most of that gear
that'd be great.
Is at this point, it's not going to break the game or anything if everyone starts having it. Okay, maybe, the Ring of Spell Storing needs to be more expensive or something like that. Fine, I don't care. But it'd be nice to actually, let's look at where we have scroll, seal, and shards and put runes in that content so you can get that stuff. So it's not this like red herring that you can't get. But also just from the standpoint of, and make sure as part of that expansion of raid runes is you should be able to get tomes that you would get from that raid out of raid runes. That's going to give people options. I know you can buy tomes, so it may not be that big a deal, but for a lot of players, that's going to be a big thing because they have a way of reliably getting tomes. They'll want to raid more and do that stuff, which is something that will tie you more to that endgame. The other thing is, and they've kind of mentioned this in passing a little bit, but what I would love to see is essentially a token thing for so like we have the tokens of the 12 for some quests, but come up with something that's similar to that for Legendary. So if you run a quest on Legendary, quest or raid on Legendary, at the end you get some bits that they're the same across the board. So similar to Combinations of Valor and the tokens of the 12, and then that is a turn-in thing that you can turn in for things like some of those tomes that we've been talking about, like stat tomes, skill tomes, tomes of fate, action point tomes for PRR and MRR, right? Like throw some stuff. Maybe some of those could have legendary versions, so you can have a legendary bonus that you only get at level 30 when you are a legendary character. So you can kind of add some more of that stuff into it. Hey, let's throw out a Reaper XP tome that you can get from a system like this that increases how much Reaper XP you can get. I don't know that I'm necessarily entirely for it. I certainly would utilize if it happened, but a lot of people said, "Hey, I would love to just be able to stay at cap and maybe get some of those benefits from past lives." Put a really super high cost on how many runes you have, and say, okay, if you have an insane amount of runes, you can buy a past life so you can get past lives from staying at cap. So there's a lot of options when you have something like that. That I don't think that would necessarily be game breaking, right? I mean, how long does it take? Some players get a heroic past life in like 18 game hours. I mean,
that's correct.
You can do it really fast. So if it takes you 40 game hours to get enough runes to get a heroic past life, I don't feel like we've broken the game. We've given people who don't want to reincarnate another option to get that.
Yeah, I agree. I like what you're saying. I think the raid runes is a great idea. At all, go back through all the raids and remove the 20th runs and put them in there, and then put a lot of unique options in there that are appropriate to that content, like you mentioned. I think those are all great ideas, and I like what you're saying too about the idea of, can I get a past life at cap? Because this is something I was thinking too, which is that these. Either it's you get the actual past life at cap, or is there a way, much like with Reaper XP or with Epic Destiny XP or Karma, where you could build up some sort of legendary XP into a bank, and then you could then spend that in some way, shape, or form, similar way you spend Karma to get Epic Destiny past lives, to get a legendary past life. And these could be the same bonuses that you're getting on the heroic ones, so that they don't stack. And so that it's basically an either or. And once you get to 3 of either the legendary ones or the heroic ones, whatever, it's still plus 15 healing amp or plus 3 to damage or whatever it is. But it gives you
want it to be the same channel, right? Like, you don't want it to be a new channel if you're going to go in that direction, just because then it's going to be both. And I think really what people are asking for is, I'm not necessarily asking for it, but I understand the sentiment, because I don't really enjoy reincarnation that much, and I've explained that on the show several times, including as part of this discussion. But having a different option, I'd rather stay at cap, and I would probably save up the bits to do that if it was an option. Sure. And I don't, like I said, I don't think it breaks the game. Someone in the chat mentioned too, like, maybe lean less on tomes and more on cosmetics. Look, cosmetics can be a part of that, but I think if it's just cosmetics, it's not going to have the effect that I'm really intending it to, of tying people to level 30. There are some people that will like those cosmetics, and that's great. And there can totally be cosmetics that look really cool from this kind of a system. But I don't think cosmetics are going to tie people to level 30.
No, I agree. We're talking a lot about character progression, but cosmetics are great. I love cosmetics personally. I started the game as being someone who wasn't particularly into cosmetics back in the day, but more recently I've started to enjoy that aspect more. And I would love to see the more options they can put in there for the runes, for these turn-ins, the larger the audience you're going to have to run the content to get these things. So absolutely, if getting a +1 tome or whatever, or +1 to something isn't your thing, but it's a really cool looking set of armor or helm or something, sure, that's fine. I mean, I like that they're in the mysterious remnants. I would never spend whatever it costs, 10, 12,000 to get one of those crowns, but I like that they're there for people who want it. So sure, absolutely. But I agree with you though. I think a way to earn the PLs while you're at cap, or equivalent bonus while you're at cap, would be a great thing. And again, making sure you're putting it in there in such a way that it's not any faster or easier. Right. It's just a question
longer. I'm totally fine with it being longer, because
yeah, that's fine too. I agree. But basically, the idea of the game is for people to have fun playing the game. So give them as many ways to get where they want to go, having fun playing the game their way. Don't make them do things they don't want to do just to get a bonus or something like that, or a benefit. And so I'd be all about that. All right, Warcane, what else would you like to see for Endgame?
Well, when you say Endgame and what there should be, I think of back in pen and paper Endgame, which when I played, it really wasn't one. You just kept going. The levels kept going, it seemed like. And you just have longer, campaigns to play. So maybe a chain raid where you do one and you can't do the next one for a few days. And once you get the chain done, there's a chain end reward. Might be good. So I don't know. From pen and paper, I look at it from that aspect. I like this game to stay as close to it as possible.
That's an interesting idea.
Something I want to jump in on really quick on what we were talking about. When I suggested earlier is Hephaestus in the chat was talking about, made a good point of, well, if you can just get a past life without reincarnating, aren't they going to lose some money or whatever? Sure, I think you'd make I'd be totally fine with when you get that past life through this mechanic. If you have to turn in a heart of wood to do it too, fine. You can turn in a heart of wood, no big deal. So you're still paying that cost. You're just not. You're leveling at level 30 instead of leveling through 1 to 20. So
that's a good point. I mean, one of the arguments I've heard for why reincarnation is popular from a developer standpoint is because it enables various purchases like sovereign XP elixirs and tomes of learning and autos boxes. Yeah, sure. I got a stack of autos boxes right now. I'm enjoying the recent bonuses. Yeah, right. But anyways, so it's fine there has to be monetization in the game. That's what they're here for. So yeah, I'm fine with them finding ways to, if you're doing this at cap, for them to also find ways to monetize that. And that's not a bad word. That's not, shady. That's, part of what we're looking for is we want the game to have
make
content.
Money, so they keep letting us play the games.
Yeah, absolutely. So
well, they could sell whatever, like the accommodations that Patrick's talking about. They could sell a 10% boost potion that you could have while you're doing the quest. There's other ways as well for them to get that revenue.
I mean, they came out with a traveler trunk. They come out with other boxes. I mean, there's lots of things we could do for monetization and stuff that would even support that system. But yeah, but I think it's a fair point to say that there should be, as part of that as a mechanic, that it shouldn't suck all of their money away from them. So I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with a pot that gives you a 10% boost in the number of raid runes you pull. I mean, you still got to run the raid and complete. So, if that makes it possible, that's great. Patrick, what's another idea you've got?
I mean, I used my good idea. I mean,
okay.
You want me to fix? Right. I already fixed the end game problem, right? Okay. You could. I think I mentioned this last time too. That you could tweaking the Reaper XP is probably something worth doing. I think having it, at an epic level quest or epic quest, maybe a 1.5 or a 2 times bonus, and then in legendary be a little higher, or 2 or 3 times, right? I think that would be beneficial. I think there is still a fundamental problem with Reaper, in the sense that there's 2 fundamental problems that I have with Reaper. One is I think it's a little silly that running it on heroic on low skulls is more time efficient than running it on moderate skulls at or even the same number of skulls at level 30. So I think that's kind of problematic as well. I think there's also the other big issue I have with Reaper XP is it's really punitive for melees. And what I mean by that is if you run into a Reaper, if you get too close to them, they slow your movement speed, which is fine, but they also slow your attack speed, which for a melee is really penalizing and try to think of the right word, regressive compared to ranged characters, which don't have to get close, so they can maintain their full attack speed. So I would really love to see that as a change to Reaper mode, just in general, that they don't slow your melee attack speed, or maybe there's one of the maybe you can choose a new Reaper that does decrease your attack speed. I also think it'd be good to introduce a Reaper that so the effect on one of the Shadow Knight or one of the Death Knights in Mark of Death that makes your spell point costs more percentage costlier and decreases your ranged attack speed or range power, something like that.
Yeah.
I think you could have a Reaper that does that as well and have kind of some more interesting interactions in those. The R is already there. Just put it on the Reaper, right?
Sure. Okay.
Or
Yeah,
an
that's good
item that you could get where you couldn't be slowed by the Reaper as a
Yeah,
melee.
I don't want to go to an item. I think you just because then it's regressive. So if you don't have the item, it's a moot point, right? I don't want to require people to have an item. I just think Reapers shouldn't slow down your attack speed, because if you're doing that, then you're obviously regressive towards melees, and I think that's kind of problematic.
I think we could have an entire show on melees and how we need to fix them. And that goes
We're
right
talking
there with
about
favor
endgame
in terms
systems,
of,
and this is a Reaper. In
Yeah.
Reaper, we've already considered it, so I think it fits in.
yeah.
Besides, that's my last good idea in this term.
As far as Reaper XP goes, how about what do you guys think of a 5 or 10% bonus to Reaper XP per epic level? So when you're at level
Sure.
30, you're getting a 50 to 100% bonus. Thus, you'd want to stay at 30 to get the highest bonus possible to do the Reaper.
Sure.
Yeah, you can do that based on level.
That's
I think it
awesome.
works better if it's on the level of the quest than like the character level. But yeah, I mean, there needs to be. They need to do something to better mitigate the problem of Reaper XP in heroic is more time efficient than it is in epics and legendary. That just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see some changes there too. One of the things that, looking at something that's been really successful, in my opinion, is being sentient weapons. I'd like to see them continue to grow this. I'd like to see them continue to come up with more sets. I think it's really great that they can add, any weapons they put in can accept sentience, and then all of a sudden, the Ravenloft content, which drops these filigrees, is relevant for that new content. That's a great system to have. So you've got the ability to have Ravenloft content impacting new content. You can add more levels to the sentient weapon, and then you can create, supersets that go up to, 6 or 7 filigrees. So I like that, and I want to see them continue to develop the sentient weapons in that regard. And then I'd like to see them, because it's so flexible, maybe do something along the lines of armor as well, and have some. I wouldn't call it sentient armor. It's kind of weird that your underwear is talking to you or whatever. But
I mean, there's lore for that.
Yeah, well, sure there is. Yeah, there's lore for anything to be sentient. You can have a sentient hat. I mean, anything. But I like this system because typically when when something drops in new content, it invalidates the old content. But the way the sentient weapon system works, that doesn't happen. So armors
it sort of does. It just
sort
turns
of
into
does,
a trash can.
Yeah, it
gives you
does.
something to do with the stuff you don't want anymore.
But the filigrees are still valuable, and
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and the sets are still valuable. And if the sets are limited in terms of where they drop, that continues to be a driving point. And so doing that with armors would be great too. Or like I know there weren't a lot of helms, if I'm not mistaken, in Ravenloft. Is that the item that was missing from most of them?
Yeah, it was.
So they did this with Todd. Todd was just about rings. Well, and necklaces and belts, really. But they picked a specific item and they really hit that hard. And you can do something like that too, and that creates an additive system because a content pack with helms isn't going to affect Ravenloft's value proposition at all from a loot perspective. And like we said before too, with the way that ingredients were reused, or I love the way that Menace of the Underdark and EGH, the Comms of Heroism, crossed paths, so that running one benefited the other. Anything where you've got bonuses or ingredients or items that can cross content packs, you create an additive loot scheme versus a replacing system or a invalidating system. So I'd really like to see them do that with their loot. I think we talked about horizontal versus vertical progression, and I think you need both. But I like the horizontal idea. Like, for example, I pulled a charisma item on my paladin that also had a bunch. It was basically a bard item, but that item had the best charisma I could get. So it's good for my paladin, or it's good for my favorite soul, even if my favorite soul doesn't do sonic damage or need perform skill boosts. But if later on something comes out that has the same charisma bonus, but also has light spell power or something like that, then it's better that's a better item for my favorite soul. You didn't necessarily have vertical progression, but you just made an item that was more tailored to specific builds, and you can do that as well, so that certain characters are getting more powerful in certain ways, but the item still fits for other characters who don't have an item out there that fits their build. And with as many build varieties as we have, that creates a lot of options.
For the end game, I just feel like there needs to be more content and things to do. I mean, with the power creep, you got all these items. When you get them all, what are you going to do with them? I mean, you got to ask yourself this, like, you run these raids and you run them so many times, you start getting bored with them. If there was more of those and they made them harder, I miss the days when you had to have a cleric that was really good at healing, or you weren't completing it, and you had to have an timid tank the whole day aggro, or you weren't completing it. I miss that. I mean, that was fun.
I think you still have that though. With, if you're talking about challenge, with Reaper, like what I said before, you get more challenge. If hard's boring for you, run Elite.
I think
if
we're
Elite's
just
boring for you, run Reaper. There's enough. I don't really buy the whole challenge argument today anymore. Unless, okay, if you're running 10 Skull Shroud and bored with it, okay, fine. But until you get to that point, I think there's more challenge there, right? Although it's a terrible example because I don't like Legendary Shroud when it gets harder. But
yeah, well, most of the guilds that I see on Kyber at least are running hard, Baba and Strahd, maybe Elite.
Yeah, I think as time goes on, when a raid first comes out too, until more content comes out and it kind of increases your power, you tend not to. It's the older raids that you tend to really be having to push more higher difficulty. Like if we were running Fallout Truth regularly, we'd be running that in Reaper in our guild because our power is such that you're far enough ahead that you can up the difficulty. Raven, we're getting to the point in my guild that we're able to complete on Elite, but it's not something we're doing all the time because it takes longer and it's still pretty challenging. So, there's lots up there.
The problem I see with it, though, is that you can't get people to run Reaper on a raid. Like, say you do a Baba, they, like you said, they want to do it on hard. They don't want to do Elite or Reaper because they're trying to get an item from there, typically. And hard's the quickest, easiest way to get through it. Now, back what Patrick was saying earlier, if there was some sort of token system and that increased the harder difficulty dramatically by how you did it, I think that would help somewhat. I don't know. I like going in and having a really hard challenge and failing and needing to have the group makeup to complete it more than what I see today.
I disagree in the sense that people want to have fun, sure, but I disagree that people won't run Elite. If we start to be running Elite runs and it's only taking 20% longer to run Elite compared to hard, people are gonna run. I have not had problems getting people to run Elite in the Ravenloft raids as long as we think we can do it, right? That honestly hasn't been an issue.
Honestly, I see the opposite. I see that when you advertise, "Hey, we're going to do this on Elite," all of a sudden, people who weren't interested before are like, "Oh, yeah, well, okay, I'll go get character X," because they want to take their best character into and try that content out.
Yeah, people like the challenge, so I don't think there's an issue with getting people to certainly. There's a balance there, right? Like you're gonna have a hard time saying, "Hey, let's run Baba's Hut on Reaper 5." You're probably not getting a lot of people until you've proven that you can do that, right? Or you can at least do like Reaper 4. So there's certainly something to be said for that. So
okay,
I was gonna say too, just kind of going back to my idea of like the legendary runes and whatever, and being able to get past lives and stuff. It's worth noting that you would, because you're not actually reincarnating, presumably you wouldn't reset your favor, and you also wouldn't reset your first time quest bonuses, which may have an impactful part of that choice. But on that same vein, if we're talking about things that they could sell to make some extra cash, a potion that reset your first time XP or first time quest runs, and maybe something that like reset your favor and cleared your Slater area stuff, they'd probably sell pretty good.
That would sell very good in a 5-pack.
Yeah, or as part of a bundle or a box or something like that. So there's options to make up the money that might be lost there. But
That's a good point.
It is.
I did want to throw out a couple suggestions from the chat. Hephaestus said he'd love to see the devs put like 1 carrot into all the raids with epic versions, like a +1 unique item to the loot just to reinvigorate the raiding scene of multiple raids. I think he's talking about kind of like the older raids to kind of put in some new stuff in there to kind of get people to run it. I think that was the main. I wanted to make sure, because I asked for suggestions off the recording side of things, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Anything else you guys want to say about Endgame before we close out this discussion?
No, I think we solved it.
Yeah, right? And by the way, devs, you can totally use all of our ideas. No credit is necessary, but if you would like a likeness of my character to put an NPC in somewhere as a thank you, I can totally work with you on that. I'm sure these guys would be happy to work with you on that as well. Anyways, thanks for listening. Join us next time. Will be our Baba Hut strategy guide after this discussion airs. I want to thank my guests today, Warcane and Asheras, for being a part of this discussion. It was a big discussion, probably the longest discussion we've actually had so far. For those who are still kind of catching up on kind of the new format for DDOCast, we're actually recording these discussions as one. So these guys have been here with me for almost 2.5 hours recording this, and then this will be spliced into several shows, which you've already heard now because this is the last one. And so it's just kind of way that we're changing how we're doing things with DDOCast this year. I think it's been working really well, so we can have this really long, enveloped discussion without making ballooning the standard shows too much. But thank you guys for being here today. If you want to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOCast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. You can also find show notes, past shows, and other stuff on our website. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates. I am at DDOCast on Twitter. If you would like to join the discussion, leave us a comment anywhere you can find this, or email us at ddocast@gmail.com. I think this one is a great one to have a lot of input. What would you guys like to see for... what do you guys want to see Endgame look like going forward? So please share your thoughts on that. And with that, until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.